What's good, YouTube? It's the novice. This is another train of thought video, guys. This is I'm gonna talk about why my issues with like Greek myths and film adaptations specifically. It's spurred by two things. This, this is a book I read recently called Mythos by Stephen Fry about like talking about Greek myths, the myths of the gods, titans, and various mortals and kings throughout the ages, people. Um, but also watching on Netflix Clash of the Titans, 2010 movie, and I couldn't stop wondering. Obviously, myself, because I'm such a fan. To give context, I always like Greek myth. When I was young, I remember there was a book in my school. This is like primary school times, and I would read about stuff like that. That's always been appealing to me, especially ideas like people with powers like the gods, Zeus with his lightning bolts, all that stuff. But also just people going on adventures that could be dangerous, like Hercules, those kind of things. When I got a bit older, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Percy Jackson books, but I've read those too. And now I've just finished reading this the other day. Um, by the way, this was a gift given to me. Like I was just talking to someone at work. It's a random person off the street, and they just gave it to me. It was in their hand, so good on them. So I like this book. Um, but the thing that appealed to me most reading this was the earlier myths about the Titans and the gods. I don't really care that much about mortals unless it's like a really interesting hero doing like a mythical type ish, like a Hercules, like a Percy Jackson. And the reason I'm making this video is because I would love to see movies, like a movie about the Titanomachy. The Titanomachy? Yeah, the Titanomachy. The 10-year war between the Titans and the gods, stuff that shook the earth. I just like the idea. Like you're taking stuff you would probably associate with anime, but it's still good enough story. So it feels like some Beowulf type stuff. You know what I mean? Like real. And speaking of Clash of Titans as well, the movie I watched. I remember when I was young, memories of watching like the original 1980s version and liking that too because I've always been attracted to it. But I'm talking to someone who I have a history of liking movies that most people think are bad. Uh, Things that are appealing to me, most people think are mediocre. The average person. So, do you ground it in order to make it appealing to the masses, or do you just make something, especially in this age of streaming? Anime is more and more getting more and more mainstream with the younger audience. Do you just make a certain animated series with good storytelling? I'd like to see that definitely if that could be more faithful or like give me what I need, those epic fights, like godly fights. Do you know what I mean? It's just is a frustrating thing, one of many frustrating things of pop culture, where I just want that. I want there to be more appeal for something like that outside of just superhero movies, but it doesn't feel like it's there. So I don't know. You guys tell me, man. What else comes to mind? I just love to see. Let's talk about Percy Jackson because I'm a big fan of those books. Still have some under my bed actually. Um, I'm old enough to when the first one came out. I believe it's 2006. I was the same age as Percy in that book, 12, I believe he was. Um, at the time, and I remember going to bookstores to buy other books and get them, like W.H. Smith, so on. So I have a deep connection, like, even though I've been a Harry Potter fan since I was like 6, 7 years old. Both books and movies, that Percy Jackson has meant more to me for that world. It has more clear meaning. Whereas Harry Potter, I'm still truly discovering what that means to me even now. Even though I've always and always will, I love that world and that story. So I would want to know if it were possible to make a Percy Jackson film or TV series work. Preferably, I would like an animated thing to be more faithful to the actual books, because obviously those movies, for people who don't know, they did Percy Jackson movies years ago. Didn't work out. They aged them up. Again, this all comes back to how much do you change to make it appealing. Because whether I like it or not, if Marvel movies were made, MCU movies were made the way I wanted them to be made, Marvel would be bankrupt. Because the only movies I'll come to accept that I blindly liked a lot of MCU movies in the past based on spectacle alone, and the only two that I like for the most part now is Captain America: Winter Soldier, the second movie, Captain America 2, or the first Avengers movie. Apart from that, I don't like any of them. I don't like any. I like bits of like Iron Man 1, the first, the second act. I don't like the movies. I do not. They are like, when Infinity War came out, I thought about something. The MCU has perfected the art of making serviceable movies. Movies where, as long as you cry, as long as you feel some type of way about the hero and the villain, they've done their job. They don't have to have a sense of consistency, which I don't feel they do actually. I think in lots of other ways, in terms of storytelling, you can argue they do, like Tony Stark's arc, being the imperfect guy who wants to always play ahead, but it doesn't work out for him necessarily that way. Cap being a pure-hearted guy, imperfect, but with strong ideals. Maybe in that way, it's consistent. So many other ways, to me, it isn't really. Like, for most people to watch a movie like Civil War, the airport fight scene, they'll think, oh, this is such an amazing, it's the best thing in comic, one of the top five. And I don't think that at all. That had no stakes, too PG, hurts my feelings. And the kind of movies I want are movies where they're dark enough to be associated with, in terms of the tone, they're dark enough to be associated with the more grounded stuff, but they are have a scale that you associate with the big fantasies, like the first Guardians movie, like I think Quests. That's why stuff like this, stuff like the Percy Jackson books, stuff like the Clash of Titan movies are so appealing to me. I like that. I like the simplicity of going on a quest, and I like the idea of such a big or stranger world. And I don't feel like I'm getting that, or anyone is doing that. Someone put in the comments down below if there's like an animated series that you've seen, a film that fits what I'm describing and what I'm trying to get at. But I don't know if we're ever gonna see that, and I want this next decade to be defined by fantasy action that isn't what is popular now. Because what's popular now to me, I feel the future won't respect. Looking back, it's gonna be a lot like the Star Wars franchise. Like everyone has a different idea of what's good and bad, even with the older movies and the original movies and the prequels. I think Marvel movies, superhero stuff, it's gonna go like that compared to other fantasies, compared to other genres in general. Keep giving them a chance. Not this stuff. It's gonna seem like you're just lazy in the long term. Even if people love it now, they're gonna think, I can tell kids will grow up. They grow up and they won't like this stuff. So try and make more stuff like based on this, man. I want to see. I mean, I want to see semi good storytelling. It doesn't have to be like perfect, but good enough to justify the action. If that makes sense. Like the visuals and the boss fights that I see in like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, with the tone of like Beowulf, or like a really serious Hercules type story, or just like I said, gods just going at it. Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? I want to see that. Tell me what you guys think below. If you like any of my videos, why not? Check out more. I won't tell you to subscribe. That's up to you. But yeah, see ya.